Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I know I made my last one just yesterday, but I feel like this is a topic worth mentioning. Now, this video is only thanks to Stevie J, who commented under my yesterday's video on a topic that I was completely unaware of.
Thanks, Stevie J. You're awesome.
We're going to be looking at the potential railroad strike that is actually right around the corner and what impact it might have on the trucking industry as well as the US as a whole. Ready? Let's go! So first, a little bit of background. According to Reuters, on September 9th, the railroads have announced that there might be a possible strike come September 16th, which is this Friday. Now, this means that somewhere around 30% of the nation's freight might come to a complete standstill.
Why? Are they pissed off about rates like we are? Because in that case, I think we should all join the strike.
Well, no, at least that's not the whole reason of this strike. Railroad workers are actually angry about being overworked, understaffed, and underpaid. Now, let me read you something. According to Bloomberg Law, large rail carriers cut staff by 29% over the last 6 years, and employment has shrunk by more than 20% since 2018, which amounts to about 40,000 jobs that were lost.
Well, can't they just hire more people?
Well, no, because the working conditions are grueling. People are forced to work over 12 hours every day, and the attendance policies are very, very strict. In other words, it's not the most attractive job offer out there.
Truck drivers do that every day, genius.
Yes, they absolutely do. A lot of truck drivers have to work under even more grueling conditions. Conductors and engineers are extremely angry at the industry's on-call 24-hour scheduling requirements. To make matters worse, these folks are forced to work no matter what is going on in their personal life. One conductor, for example, nearly missed his wife's funeral because he was refused time off. Now, I fully understand and 100% agree that many truck drivers face the same conditions. Unfortunately, unethical work practices are very common in this industry as well. But long story short, railroad workers are fed up and are poised to go on strike come September 16th. Again, which is this Friday. Now let's talk about the impact this potential railroad strike might have on our trucking industry.
Spoiler alert, it's good news for carriers.
Well, good news on one hand, yes, but I actually think the ramifications of this would be terrifying in the big scheme of things. Now, I'm a visual learner, and I think a lot of people are as well, so what we are going to do is we're going to look at the impact on the trucking industry by going to my new and improved board right there. Yes, I'm using every single excuse in my toolbox to be able to use that board in my videos. I'm so sorry about the lighting. I know it's a little bit dark. I need to figure that out, which I will, I promise. Anyway, trucking companies usually deliver what is known as the last mile of virtually every single type of freight rail transports. But the reality is trucking companies and rail companies actually compete for freight. So the first thing I want to show you is I want to show you this map right here. So what you will see, this is obviously the map of the United States, and you will see the green lines right here. These are all the railroad operations, right? All of these green lines. Then there are the red lines and the gray lines. You'll see the gray lines are everywhere. The red lines are everywhere. This is trucking. So if you were under the impression that rail freight and truck freight are completely two different beasts, that is not the case. They compete with each other. They service the majority of the United States, both of them, and they complement each other as well. They make it possible to cover the amount of freight passing throughout the United States. Now, let me show you the next page, and this will show you why rail transportation is so popular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it as big as possible. Hopefully you guys can see it. Number one is rail is actually much more cost effective for large volumes and long distances than trucking. And this is because a single rail car can haul 3 to 4 times more freight than the average truck. People also choose to ship by rail because there is no such thing as traffic congestion and road construction delays. The train goes and there's nothing stopping it. But of course, one of the things that trucking has an advantage over is the fact that trucks can pretty much deliver anywhere. Trains have to stay on the railroad. trucks can provide door-to-door service. But basically, this gives you an idea of why rail transportation for freight is so popular in the United States. So it's not like these are two different beasts. Trucking companies and rail companies are pretty much doing the same thing, just on a different scale. Now, another thing I want to show you is this chart right here. And this is going to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're faced with when we're talking about this rail strike. So these are numbers from 2019. Unfortunately, I was not able to find any numbers that are more recent, but it will give you an idea nonetheless. Trucks in 2019 transported roughly 40% of the freight throughout the US. 27 or 28%, now it's around 30%, was transported by rail. So the question is, what is going to happen if this mode of transportation simply stops? Well, that freight is going to stop as well and will need to be covered by the trucking industry. To make it really clear, there are around 7,000 freight trains out there, and these freight trains operate on a daily basis. So if these 7,000 freight trains stop, there will be a need for over 460,000 trucks on a daily basis to be able to cover this freight that just stopped. And getting those 460,000 extra long-haul trucks is impossible. So to make this super clear, if the strike happens, all of this freight that is usually transported by rail has to now be transported by trucks. But unfortunately, there are not enough trucks in order to transport or cover this amount of freight. So why is this quote unquote good news for carriers? Well, because there's going to be a ton of new freight in the market potentially with not enough trucks to cover it. Basically, supply and demand. And if there are not enough trucks to cover that new freight that needs to be transported, guess what? The rates start to skyrocket.
Yes, our prayers have been answered.
Nope, I'm gonna stop you right there if you think that way, because there's a bigger picture to this whole thing, and let me tell you, it is not pretty. First of all, people are predicting that this strike could cost the US economy over $2 billion a day. To top it off, there would be an immediate threat to the supplies of food and fuel and so on. In other words, get ready for those empty shelves in stores, factories shutting down because they don't have the parts to operate, and prices going up because of the scarcity of product. Basically, this is going to cause Armageddon 2.0. First, there was COVID, and now there is this. It's not good at all. Let me show you what the ripple effect would look like. Now, just to make the ripple effect clear, I want to draw your attention to this right here. A single rail car can haul 3 to 4 times more freight than the average truck. Now, the average truck can haul around 45,000 pounds, right? Just about. So 4 times more than that would mean that a single rail car can haul 180,000 pounds of freight. Now, if this happens, the strike happens, this is freight. This is the amount of freight per rail car that is now stationary because there are not enough trucks to actually transport this freight. So this is freight that does not make it to its destination. The grocery store, the factory, the farmer, whatnot. And of course, if it's not making its way to destination, it means it's not making its way to the consumer. So if it doesn't make its way to the consumer, that means that the prices start going up because there is a scarcity of product. So this will actually directly affect the economy, because as prices for necessities become more expensive and people will have to buy those necessities because people need medicine, people need to eat, then these same people will not have enough money left over to actually contribute to the economy by spending on other goods and services in the economy. And of course, as consumers have less money to contribute to the economy and to spend on things that maybe are not necessities, a recession is imminent. With a recession, it means that in the future, if the strike does happen, the domino effect will cause the trucking industry to suffer and go down in the dumps like it is right now, or maybe even worse. Now, I realize this is a very, very simplified example, but it does get the point across. Anyway, once again, I thank Stevie J for bringing this topic to my attention, and I thought it was very important to share it with you guys. I hope I'm not the only one who was living under a rock and didn't know that this was about to happen. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, but other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.